But the forgiveness can start with self. Because especially women, many women will blame themselves and then their body. My body at 14 years old, was different than another 14-year-old. And so
Well, hi, everyone. You're listening to Spicy Bananas podcast, where nothing's off limits and everything's up for a real, raw conversation. From intimacy to inner work, we go deep with people who have something powerful to say.
And we're your hosts, B1 and B2, two mates who spent years turning awkward combos into soul-shifting moments. And today's guest, she's got the energetic receipts to help you finally get out of your own damn way.
And today's guest is Terrie Christine, an internationally acclaimed intuitive energy healer, celebrity coach, and author of The Secret Power of You, a guide to mastering your inner greatness. With nearly 20 years of experience, she's helped thousands break through emotional barriers, ditch perfectionism, and start building better relationships with themselves and with others. She's been featured on Bravo's Real Housewives, Love and Marriage, DC, Good Morning Washington, Hay House Radio, you name it. She's not just talking about change, she's here to clear the blocks that have you stuck. Welcome, Terrie. Thank you so much for joining B1 and B2.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Love the
Thank
energy.
you for saying yes.
Love this.
Love it.
Listen, Terrie, have you ever had to coach yourself through a meltdown moment?
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
What kind of big question's that, right?
Here's the thing. No matter how gifted and talented you are, you still have subconscious limiting beliefs. But here's the caveat of this. You can heal and clear and start like in your 20s and 30s. And then here you are, like I'm 39 again. and something comes up because certain things have to happen in order for your pieces of puzzle to come together, for something to trigger. But most people, and I'm going to say most, will say, why'd you say that? Why'd you do that? This is awful.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you're going through the drama, the trauma, and I mean, it just literally happened to me last week. I'm like, damn, what just happened? But I stopped to say, okay, where was I allowing and then being a part of what was happening? And when you get past the crying and the emotions and the anger and resentment, you'll be able to see that, wow, I was the one who did blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what the other person did. You have to be responsible for you, meaning energetically. What are you hanging on to? What are you trying to create? What are you forcing them into? Because forcing energetically, and I'm going to really overstate energetically because that's really the key component of the yin, the yang, the back and forth, even between the two of you. There's, when you have that partnership, there's something called quantum entanglement. One of you becomes the strongest particle in the group. And then
yeah, absolutely. No, it does happen because B1, Ness can be on a real downer. And then I'm the one that flights in and goes, oh, okay, here we go. Or we're literally opposite.
Each other up at selected times.
Yeah. And then I rocked this morning and I went, oh my God, we've got our hair the same today. All vibing. Yeah, totally understand what you're saying there.
Yeah. And so a lot of people, especially when it comes to family dynamics, the mom, the other partner, or, husband, wife, whatever that dynamic looks like, and the kids, and even stepchildren, you'll have that family dynamic, the particles, let's call it, of all of the individuals. And the strongest particle is where the other particles, the children, the other partner will relate to, just like the two of you and your partnership. And, and then what'll happen is like they'll interact in a wrong way, push back, be resentful, angry, instead of saying the strongest particle, may it be one of the caregivers, the mom, the dad, or the partners, stepping up and saying, I had a bad day. I'm sorry, everybody. Let's just meet at the dining room table. Let me share what's going on, even with the children. You're not here to cause fear but you're giving clarity.
Yeah.
Clarity.
You know, so many children that we want clarity. Just tell us why you're arguing. You know, you don't have to go into the deep despair of the money and the infidelities and whatever else may be going on, but saying mom and dad, or, you know, we are challenged. Has nothing to do with you. We're challenged and we're working through it. Because the children are saying, what's going on? And then within that, the children are sitting back going, oh my God, I want to save them. Or, oh, I must not be good enough because they're not inviting me in. And that's where all of our limiting beliefs, not just, you know, that interaction with those caregivers in those moments. There's so many interactions that happen, but that's just one of 1,000, a trillion that happens. So the children need some form of clarity to say, we love you. It has nothing to do with you. I'm sorry you're hearing it through the walls, because yeah, we do. And then you're seeing it or feeling it, quote unquote, at the dining room table, because children will, well, we all feel things. Most of the time people will say, you know, disconnect, or, you know, say, that's not, I don't feel that. That's just a coincidence, quote unquote. But there are no coincidences in this world. The children will feel it all. And then with their eyes and their ears, they will watch, and then they will try to put it together, but they don't have the history of the adults. And then now they're saying, I'm not good enough. I'm not heard. I'm not seen. And then they carry it on from their subconscious to the conscious space as an adult. And that's when people start to see me.
Yeah. And that's the thing, when you're doing that too, these children are learning how to sort of cope with it and talk about it, sort of early adulting, really.
Yeah.
To sort of just be open and talk.
Yeah, and that's a huge key with your kids, I feel. Even me as a single solo mum, you know, I've been open with my boys. They're a little bit older, but they see me have meltdowns. I've recently had a meltdown, and that boys don't know how to Mum, you okay? You came up, I'm okay. You know, just take a moment. But yeah, I just feel you have. They don't need to know everything, but they do need to understand to a degree that we are humans and we are allowed to break down. We're allowed to show our feelings. It doesn't matter if you're female or male. This is how we are. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's going to be a little part of healing. Otherwise you bottle it up, and what are you going to do? You're going to explode. And then she comes to
Mamacita, when you're doing that with your sons, you're first off showing that vulnerability is safe, real, and raw, right? And you're saying, now here you are feminine to masculine energy, saying, this is okay. That you can feel this, and this is what this represents, and this is what I'm going through. And I'm sorry you're seeing this. However, this is real. And so you're going to see it from your partner or from your own self. And being able to share it, talk about it, and know that you can get it out in a healthy manner. And when you're doing that and sharing it, especially at the dining room table, let's think about it. Because I work with, you know, young children too, and I work with couples, and I tell them the dining room table is the place to share it all. Because think about it. When we were young, and if you had, you know, the mom and dad, or even if it's a single parent, we're sitting at the table and mom's asking or dad's asking, how was school? How's Joe? How's Sally? And we're all talking about what is going on in our world that day. And so when you want to negotiate or talk about what's troubling you, especially with your children, you bring them to the dining room table and you say, okay, let's talk about this. Let me tell you why I'm struggling when I have to tell you 10 times to clean your bedroom. And I want to meet in the middle. It's safe to cry, mamas. It's safe to say, I'm so sad that I feel like you're not wanting to be a team member with me. So I want to come to a conclusion, and you must come to a conclusion. So if you're like at the dining room table talking about it, and you're like corporate and we'll just talk and then we'll meet again and still talk about it, there's no solution. You must walk away with an equal solution. The child has well, mom, just ask me twice. And I promise you, I'll come to the second time, but not 10 times. And you can say, well, let's negotiate. I want it to be one time. And of course they'll go to 3 and you go to 2. But you go back and forth to say, this hurts me. And you can cry and say, I want to work with you. I want you to love me as I love you. But me asking 1,000 ways, 1,000 times is hurting me. And when you're at the dining room table, it's safe. You're saying and feeling what you're saying in a true, authentic way. That child will say in a true, authentic way. You come to a conclusion. And then if it doesn't work, you bring them back again. What is it that we didn't understand? We had an agreement. Help me understand. This is hurting me even more. And this is my feelings. And then that way they're understanding, daggone, mom is serious here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's interesting because that's where my mum used to talk at the dining room tables when I got all the, okay, mum, now can we talk about sex? Like I need to know questions, answers to my questions. So that was how I was brought up. It was then Dad would go and watch TV and it would be my brother and myself sitting at the table. And I loved dinner time because it was like, I got to eat these peas real quick so I can, talk about the sex topic. So it's interesting, and that doesn't go on much anymore. This day and age, I don't feel,
that's
yeah.
sad. That's what I was just thinking before. That's really sad that we have lost that because, I think most of us grew up as children sitting around that dinner table, and that's where you discuss your bad report card.
That was you.
You discuss why you snuck out of the window.
That was you again.
From me, but it was like a counselling sort of session. It was like the debate table, the counselling table. It got every sort of out.
Yes. And I love the fact that you said, it used to be that way, because we're finding with our lifestyles and both caregivers are working and, we come to the end of the day and maybe we're sitting at the dining room table, if not TV trays, or we're driving the kids to ballet and all these things. But you must be able to make time for family because, what I was just recently working with this couple and they have a small 3-year-old. And I was telling them to interact at the table. What was the best part of your day? And asking that 3-year-old. And then when they came back to me, both the mom and dad says, you have no idea how it's altered our 3-year-old, because now she runs to the table and she's like, okay, let's talk. Tell me about your day.
I love that.
And so that's right.
Yeah.
And it's already setting the precedence that she wants to come to the table. She wants to share what's going on. She wants to hear what her caregivers are dealing with their life. And then she's part of the quote unquote team.
Yeah.
That's good.
Got to bring it back to the table.
Yeah, we do.
So what led you to intuitive energy healing? Was there a moment where everything shifted?
Yeah. You'll hear me say, a lot. I was at the end of a 14-year relationship, the father of my children, and I poured so much into this human being because I was shown in the 4 walls of my childhood to serve and service my partner by my mother and my grandmother. And so when we stop long enough to reflect on our childhood, we'll be able to see, the patterns that were around us, and you will have taken it in. And so I took all of that in, and here I am pouring into him for 14 years. And at the end, I'm like, honestly, God, if this really what love is about, I'm out. Yeah. Take me. I'm out. So I found myself, it was 3 a.m. I looked at the alarm clock. I'm like, okay, I'm done. I crawled out slightly and gently out of the bed because I'm still loving him. Don't want to wake him. That's the way it is. I felt like it was 1950s and literally it wasn't. Yeah. I crawled into the bathroom and I laid on the floor and with all my might and power, intention, everything. And I said, God, I'm done. The kids will be fine. I'm done. Take me. And I was gut wrenching crying. And then within that space, I felt this expansion, like, thin air. And I started feeling like I was leaving my body. I felt so safe. I felt secure. My eyes were closed, but it was like lucid dreaming. I was blinking with my eyes closed. And within those blinks, all of a sudden, I'm in the center of the universe. Stars were all around me. I thought I could touch them. I had this dampness all around me. I could taste it in my mouth. And then 3 words: love will come. No joke. It was as if I was in the center of a speaker. It was very masculine. And I'm like, oh my God, everything. And when I said that, I really thought it, and I thought was like something I said, I felt this constriction back into my body. And I stood, I'm like, what the fuck? Sorry. What the hell what happened? What just happened? And I was 100% corporate then. I was a director of sales, brought in millions of dollars for this company, took care of the inside of the house, took care of the kids. He read the newspaper, watched TV, and mowed the yard. I did everything else. And when I jumped up, I said, what just happened. But within that space, I said, I'm going to get what I want. So I went to bed and I woke up, and let me tell you, my entire life changed. As I explained to you, corporate, kids, house, he laid on the couch and did whatever. I did it all, 90% of everything, taking care of everything, and including myself, which was the last person. And yes, we are someone, but I didn't feel like I was somebody. Everybody else was more important. I wasn't anyone at that moment. And so then I'm like, I gotta go to the bookstore. I don't know why. There's just something. I haven't read a book in years. I didn't have time. So I went in, and all of a sudden, and you hear these stories and you think, oh, it's just a story. No, it really happened. And when people tell you these stories, they are so real. I walked in and went to self-help and like, help me, God, help me understand. And I just started pulling books. Esther Hicks, Wayne Dyer, Eckhart Tolle, the masters, I call it a psychic 101. Understanding what is more than what meets the eye, what's inside, to help meld what we desire from our soul to what's on the outside, to bring it together instead of living what other people put on top of us and what other people were creating for us. And I'm telling you, ladies, I was reading 2 books at a time. I became the speed reader going, what is going on? But it was making sense. All of it. And the truth makes sense. And when I was understanding this, I got the courage and the strength to say, adios, amigo. And I was out in 3 months. And then I went on to the journey. I went on to the journey with energy work, essential oils, Reiki. I mean, I call these all lily pads, just like a little frog. We jump on the lily pad, we stay as long as we can, and we jump to the next lily pad. And so as I was developing and creating all of this and understanding there's more to life than what meets the eye, and thinking that what she said, he said, all of that, that is BS. That is not your reality. Your reality is what is within, what you're creating, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. But we discount it based on how much is going on, how much chaos, how much we want to, what was put upon us, and how we're, making other people happy when we're the last one. But let me tell you, I'm going to repeat it. You are somebody.
Yep. Absolutely. Wow. So you've worked with some high profile clients. What's something people assume about their lives that's completely false?
The number one thing is everyone thinks that they have all the money and everything is great.
But no.
And you know what? You, me, them, us, we're all the same. It doesn't matter what is your bank account, your checking account, your credit cards. It doesn't matter. You still have the interaction with your partners, your children, your career, and whatever that looks like. And, when they're coming to me with the same thing that you and the listeners are coming to me for, is to help them understand why they're struggling, why they can't see beyond what is in front of them, how they can create happiness and joy and even more abundance. That some of them may have, an NFL career, but they're wanting something else. Because they have everything, but there's still a void. And so it's that space between the soul and the physical body that they're like, why do I feel like I'm not complete? And then so I'm the one to help them. Okay, well, your mom, and I'm not talk therapy. That's the key to this, is that people come to me and all you have to do is give me your first name. And then I start telling you, because there are 5 ways to pick up limiting beliefs, usually before the age of 7, which is mom and dad like figures like grandparents, God, someone else, or something else. And so what I'll do is I'll just do this like magical thing about asking myself certain questions. I can do it spontaneously, pick up what's going on, where it came from, how old you were, because I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient, and clairsentient. So it's not just talk therapy. If you're going to psychiatrist, psychology, or whatever, the clinical social work or whatever it is that you feel. And I support all that. However, it doesn't have to go on for 2, 5, 10 years. And so I get to right to the core and then tell them why you're stuck because of this situation from your subconscious. And then I shift it And then besides shifting it from the subconscious, I give them tips and tricks on how to see things, how to, shift on how to respond differently. So I'm giving them something that's tangible that they can see that their life is changing on top of shifting from their subconscious.
Yeah, right. Well, that would probably, do you want to lead with your?
Well, that was one thing I was chatting to Kel before we come on and thought with people that have gone through sexual abuse and things like that, healing that side of that icky side, really. How do you go?
Yes.
It's sort of
because we do hear it a lot at work, and it's a touchy subject when we're not clinically trained. So they're coming into an adult store trying to find a product that can help them, and then they'll blurt out that they've been sexually abused or there's been a trauma.
And
That's
why we joke about it every now and then that we need counselling because we feel like we counsel people daily, but in that it's saying obviously we're doing something right too if they can open up and be that vulnerable. But how does the healing go there for that sort of post-trauma of sexual abuse and whatnot?
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you, ladies, for creating a safe space to allow people to be able to share something so profound and so intimate. And you are creating that safe space for them to share that. So thank you. Because it does start with creating a safe space. What's happening is if you've ever read the book, The Body Keeps the Score. It's about trauma and, it doesn't have to be sexual assault. It can be a car accident. It could be physical abuse from a caregiver or a family member or whatever. And, you could have somebody grab your arm and all of a sudden you're triggered from that response because the body remembers, that other person grabbing your arm and then it doesn't go so well. And so what's happening is someone is coming in trying to find something, first off, to find a safe space so they can let it go and thinking that through the actions, they can release it. But it takes a little bit more than just that because it's still in the subconscious space. It's still embedded in the body. So until they can say, number one, forgiveness is massive. It's so massive because, when you have someone outside of you that was controlling something that was so negative against you, then it's hard to find that space of forgiveness. But the forgiveness can start with self. Because many, especially many women will blame themselves and then their body. My body at 14 years old, was different than another 14-year-old. And so they may end up a little bit more heavier on the weight side because they're still trying to protect themselves and not attracting what happened to them. Right. And then they'll blame well, what did I say? How did I act? It must have been me. And so there is where they're still hanging on to their own interpretation that it was either them, their actions, or their body. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so when someone is trying to work within their own selves instead of going to, talk therapy or an energy worker such as myself, or even sound healing or breath work. These are alternative things, but it's all vibrational. It all goes to the subconscious level. That if they're trying to do it on themselves, it is very difficult because we're all right now. You and I and the listeners are consciously here. We're talking and interpreting what's going on. But the subconscious is what is ruling your world, meaning you'll get triggered, like I said, with somebody grabbing your arm and the way they move their arms or how they're projecting their voice. It can trigger something from the past, right? Yeah. So if someone is saying, okay, I want to try to do it on my own. Okay, well, the first step is forgive yourself. Forgive your body, forgive yourself. And it takes a lot of courage to say, I wasn't the one at fault here. I was simply the one that was at that moment, right? Yeah. And saying, okay, I have to forgive myself for thinking that I caused it or I did it. Because that wasn't the case. It's never the case, right? Yeah. And then going into a deeper, more forgiving level. And I hesitate to say, oh, forgive the other person, because that's not a simple thing for me to say. Because when we start with self, that's a mountain in itself, right? Yeah. To go from, blaming yourself or blaming the situation. And because there were, you and whoever or whatever was involved, that you're going to go to you first, going, how could I have done that? How could I have not seen that? How could I put myself in that situation? Why didn't I X, Y, and Z, right? And so forgiving yourself first, and then like going to the space of saying, do I have enough strength? Because, most will say, no, I'll never forgive that person. Or, that I'm so angry still, because you still have to get past those levels, right? Once you get past those levels, then it becomes easier to be able to say, I forgive that other person.
Yeah.
But meditation can get you, and it's, if you go, oh, meditation, that's just so simple. Well, it's so simple yet very profound.
Yeah.
It allows you to get answers within yourself. Because when we go so far outside of ourselves, we start asking our friends, our families, what should I do? What should I wear? How should I act? Then they're telling you what you should do. Your soul is telling you what you should do. But most of us will say, oh, I like this dress. Girlfriend, should I buy this dress? No, unless you want confirmation because you like it, that you ask your girlfriend, should I buy it?
Yeah.
If she says no and you like it, then buy the dress.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense.
Yes. Yes.
I'll let you know if something doesn't look good,
Oh, I
though.
tell you straight in a
I
heartbeat.
want to know.
That looks like shit. Girl. It's the brutal honesty we have with each other. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
You talk about the link between burnout, overthinking, and emotional blocks. How do people begin to break that perfectionism loop?
Yes. So first off, are you feeling satisfied? And we already know no. Because if you're burned out and you're people pleasing and you're doing everything outside of yourself, then it's time to reflect on the inside of yourself. I'm going to constantly tell everybody, go back to your childhood, because that's where everything starts.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that dad was grabbing you and throwing you in the corner, or mom was emotionally disconnected and on drugs. It doesn't mean it can be part of it, but it doesn't mean it's the main part of it. Because there are so many people that don't have that. But you'll have a mom who has self-esteem issues, or a dad who's emotionally disconnected. He goes to work, comes home, eats, and go to sleep. And then the little girl, the little boy sitting in the corner, I want dad, I want mom. Dad, come here. That's my daddy. Dad pats the child on the head and goes to bed. Instead of talking to the child, being present for the child, showing, talking, communicating, telling them what they're striving for. There's a lot of men out there that, want to be the caregivers, to, go out there and strive and protect their family. But in that, they say, if I'm not working this hard, I won't be providing what I feel my family needs.
Yeah.
When in fact, your family needs you as well.
Yeah.
So when you're living so far outside of yourself, just like the story I was telling you, it got to the point where I wanted to unalive myself. No one should be in that position because you're pouring so much into someone else that you're discounting that you are someone. And I'm going to, repeat that as well, because I have many people that say, but everybody and somebody else and all that. I'm like, but so are you.
Yeah.
And so when we stop and say, okay, I'm wanting to thrive, but I'm thriving so much that I'm burned out and resentful and angry, and I'm making this company millions of dollars, which there was a point that at the end of my corporate that I was in that position as well, on top of all the other stuff I was dealing with, that I'm like, it got to where, who am I? Where am I?
Lost yourself.
What am I? That's right. Because I felt I wasn't somebody.
Yeah.
I felt everyone else was more important. That's right.
I feel a lot of people go through life like that. They have that does happen to them.
Definitely.
Yes. But again, going back to the childhood, how was dad responding and working through his corporate life? How was mom responding and acting through her corporate life if she had one, right? And then how was it being projected in the four walls of the family? You'll have overachievers, superachievers, you'll have underachievers, and all the actions and the children are sponges to those actions. Yes. And I've had women that have come to me that have said, I have perfect moms and dads, and they were both there and both present, but I keep sabotaging my relationships because what they're doing is also trying to recreate that unconditional love that the father was giving to the daughter or the mother was giving to the son, and trying to find that balance. And the parents are thinking we're doing all the right thing, but still not communicating. They're showing it, but not communicating. The imbalances and the balances. They have to show their weaknesses and the strengths so the child doesn't think that this is all perfect and I need to recreate this perfectness.
Yeah,
very much
that's
so.
it.
Very much so.
Well, I'm going to turn the spice up a little bit right now.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So if your healing style were an adult store product, what would it be? There's so
Okay, hold on, because I've been into a few of those stories. Hold on. It would probably be, let's just be raw here.
Yep.
It would be a very nice sized vibrator. Because think about it, a nice size vibrator, because first off, it's about fulfilling my own desires, right? Feeling safe and filling my own desires.
Yep.
Feeling that I can have this, feel this, sweat this, yearn for this, moan for this, and feel like I'm free to do this. I am in the space that this feels good and I am free to do this.
Yep. And
I can also, yes, and I can heal through this. So for women that may have, and I have women that come to me that have never had an orgasm. I can't imagine that, but I can hear it and know it and feel it in their energy, right?
Yep.
But to be able to explore your own body, like I know my body inside and out because I trust it and I know it. And so with my partner, I'll say, okay, that, my pelvis is a little tilted. And, I know that you're enjoying yourself, but I want to be a part of the team too.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to do a little something extra.
Yep.
And I'm not expecting it at the beginning, but as we move along and you understand my body, you're going to hear it in my breathing. You're going to hear it in my movements. And that's just the way my body is. So I'm telling them up front. And it's not, I say that.
There we go. Open.
I'm 39 again.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm 39 again. So
exactly.
But I'm also creating, excitement for them, because think about it. You're my male partner, because that's what I choose. My male partner is like wanting to please me.
Yes.
And so, while we're, having intercourse and being intimate, and if he's not getting to the Grand Prix, then he feels like, right? And he's like, oh, I'm not fulfilling her. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure up front, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just how my body is.
Yeah.
And so, and I may not say that on the very first time, because, we're just kind of getting to know each other.
Yeah.
But then I'll say, can you move to the left? Can you, and I'm just telling them that, you want to get to, the red flag faster. I'm just telling you, I can help you.
Yeah.
I can help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that. And I'm going to be walking around the store on Monday looking at large vibrators going, Terrie, be there. No, communication, as you said, Terrie, that is the key. We say it all the time, nearly every episode, but at our store, it is constantly that. You get to know your partner and needs and vice versa. You'll meet in the middle.
And we do.
Yes.
We encourage our customers to explore your body. And I'm so thankful you just said that too to our followers.
Yes.
Explore your body. How else are you meant to know how it works if you're sharing your body with someone else and you've got no idea?
Yep.
This
exactly.
is some women maybe haven't had an orgasm because they haven't actually.
And they block it off.
Yeah.
If they
that's right.
Connected to here, guys, ladies, this is so powerful.
That's right.
You switch.
That's right.
So I mean, you can talk all day about this.
Yes. And let's add a few more things. Since, in my 20s, there are so many more opportunities now than I was in my 20s. So you have CBD oil you could put up there, and it helps, stimulate the nerve endings up in there. And there's so many things that you have the opportunity to try. And so instead of saying, well, I only know this because I just remember it from back then, talk to your girlfriends, go online. There's so many groups out there on Facebook that are private groups that can explore, go to stores like you
Yep.
all are offering.
Yeah.
And I've been to where I walk in and they go, oh, look at you. Oh, you look fresh. And I'm like, okay, what do you have to offer me? And I kind of make it a game. And then all of a sudden they're telling me, well, you can use this, you could do that. And there's so much information that you ladies offer us that I didn't even know when I went into one of the stores. I'm like, what? And at first I'm like, okay, this is a little bit too much for me because, I'm a little old school. However, I also understand that there's two people in that bed. And I'm going to make sure that I'm going to get as much enjoyment as the other person because I don't want it to be boring. And I don't want it to say, no, I don't want to do it like, every other month. No, I mean, we all have this desire and this need. Come on, anybody tells me they don't have it, well, check your hormones then.
Yeah.
For some of us ladies, we need to check our hormones. And believe me, I was already part of that. And I'm like, something. And here's the thing. Let's talk about hormones. So I had a 35-year-old gynecologist. And when I went to her and I said, look, there's something wrong with me. I went to her about 4 years ago and I said, something wrong with me. I said, I want to have the juiciness in my hips. I feel crispy. That's what I kept telling her. I feel crispy like a leaf. I said, a dry winter leaf. I said, there's something wrong. I want this like juiciness in my hips. What's going on? No joke. She said, you're getting older. And I said, okay. And
tell me something I don't know.
She said, no joke. She said, because I said, could you please just run a thyroid panel and my hormones? I did this all on my own because I said, there's something going on. I said, run a full blood panel, including thyroid, including hormones. No one else told me that. She said, we already know your hormones are low. You are wasting my resources.
Stop that.
Oh,
I fired her.
Oh.
I fired her.
Absolutely.
I fired my gynecologist because she's 35 thinking that a 39-year-old woman, again, 39-year-old again,
Yes.
can't have the pleasures that you have. Who the hell are you to tell me that? I fired her. And so then what I did was I said, okay, because we have to claim our own. And I'm like, no way I'm claiming my own. And I said, I desire this and something is wrong and I don't know what it is. So I went and I found another gynecologist where I said, because I said, bioidentical hormones, what's going on? I'm to that age where my estrogen, I'm having hot flashes and whatever else is going on. So I just started calling everybody and I'm like, every gynecologist, I was just calling them. Do you specialize in bioidentical hormones? Are you supportive of them? And I found a group of doctors and they said, yes, we have one here and she loves it. Girl, ladies, I made an appointment. I ran right in and let me tell you, changed my entire life. So she supported that. We ran the hormones. They were next to nothing. I went to a compounding pharmacy that she works with. And that's where you have to get a compounding pharmacy. She wrote the prescription. It was the best thing ever.
Right.
I now
didn't
have
give
nice
up, though.
skin.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot that would just give up and go, oh my God. Or
That's
be
right.
embarrassed or ashamed now going, she's made me feel so degraded. I don't even want to go somewhere now. So
Lose your face in which is
because she's in a profession that has been trained, it's like you've just destroyed
Exactly.
my soul.
Exactly. Most of my clients are women. As I said, I see children, I see couples, but women are more open to spiritual work. And, when they start telling me about, or I'll pick up like low hormone, I can pick up medical stuff in their body. And I'm like, are you having hot flashes? Are you having dry skin? I can pick up the JJ issues. And I'm like, are you, I said,
now.
Yes, I tell them, I said, are you having these issues? Because I'm picking that up in your energy field. And they're like, yes, but I said, no buts. And the first thing I say, run your thyroid, run your hormones, because thyroid and hormones are usually, because that's where your hormones are regulated from and your adrenals. But, I say run them both because if you have thyroid issues, most women don't even know it. And if you do or don't have thyroid issues, your hormones as you get to a certain age your estrogen is going to start going low. And that's not you. And most women will blame themselves. Oh, I don't know why I want my partner anymore. And oh, he's too aggressive and he's really not. He's just, kissing and hugging all over you because he loves your body. and he should.
Oh, I'm going to the gynecologist tomorrow.
Yes. Yes.
You've helped a lot of women out that are listening, and possibly men too, go, oh, is that why she's like that?
Yeah.
And the lack of
Men don't.
communication at home too.
Men
So,
don't understand, so we try and help them along when they come into work as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
educate
Well,
them.
they see something, but they don't know something, right? And they want to help, most want to help their partner. They love their partner. They love the partner's body, or they want to be with them. But when their partner is saying, oh, you know, I'm like, it hurts when I have sex, or, you know, oh, I just don't feel like I'm in the mood, you know, because, I'm so into my body because I use my body as the tool to understand the energy, meaning, you know, I can feel my throat constricting when I'm working on a client, which means they're struggling to communicate, or they may even have thyroid issues. It depends on where it is that I feel it in my throat. And so I'll just kind of tap my toe into the energy of their field. And then I'll allow my body to represent or feel out what's going on. And so I'll say, you know, hey, I'm picking up, you know, and I can also pick up sexual assault, you know, and I usually pick it up when they're laying on the bed and it's their left leg, and I'm holding their knee. And so my fingers are now on the inside of the knee, and I can feel that energy go right up to the vajayjay. And then I'll start seeing stories or movies. And then the first thing I'll say is, you ever had an inappropriate situation when you were young? And I'll pick up the age, and then I'll shift and clear that energy of what's going on so that they can feel that they can let it go, or, you know, depending on how bad it was and all that stuff. And let me tell you, a lot of women have had that happen.
Sad, isn't
It's
it?
incredible the amount of people that I pick that up on.
Mm.
And so being able to clear that so that they can feel safe in having intimacy on a deeper level, that they can feel safe moaning and moving around and not feel like they have to keep their mouth shut even though they want to say it.
Yeah.
They should feel safe to do that. And if they're not feeling safe, they need to communicate that with the partner. Truly. And then there's so many women, well, I can't. That's you saying that. We can do anything. And you know what? If you're challenged with being able to say it, then make a joke out of it. You know how, you know, sometimes people say, oh, I don't like what you're wearing. It's a joke. Well, then, ha ha ha, I'm not liking what I'm feeling here. That was a joke. If you want to start it out just to get it out, because what'll happen is the other person will say was, whoa, wait a minute, that's not funny. And then at least you can start the conversation or step into it. Or what I tell a lot of people, I'll tell them so much about themselves and whoever they're dealing with, because I can connect to that energy through them to another person.
Yeah.
And I'll say, look, why don't you just own what I'm saying and tell them you had a dream? Say you had a dream that you feel X, Y, and Z. Or I had a dream that you're challenged with, you know, how I communicate. And so when you can at least start with saying, I had a dream. So you can say, I had a dream that, you know, you were struggling with satisfying me. Bam. There's the open door. And he's going to say, yeah, well, or she's going to say, well, yeah. And say, you know, I want to tell you. And just blurt it out. If you want to cry it out, scream it out, yell it out, just get it out. Let me tell you, if you do not get it out, you will attack your thyroid. You'll have throat issues because you have got to get out of what is sitting in your throat, because that little thyroid is just a tiny little piece of tissue. And when a lot of energy is sitting there and you're not getting it out, it will be affected.
That's good advice. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mama.
It's still early. It's still kind of early.
Oh, God.
So more female focused here. What's one mindset shift you'd give a woman who feels like she's not enough?
Well, first off, I give him a big hug.
Yeah.
I give him a big hug and I say, hold on.
Yeah.
I said, what is inside of you that you feel like you don't deserve? Number one. And then the fireworks, the tears, and the emotions come out, because literally that kind of feeling that a person has is, there's multiple layers of energies. First off, the top of your skin is the first layer. And when I put my hands on people, and I do remote work, I started 100% remote. And then over time, I do have a private studio in Bethesda, Maryland, which is in the Metro DC area. And so if you're face to face with me, and I have people flying in from all over to see me. And so when I put my hands on them, I can feel the depth of their energy. And literally, for some of them, as soon as I touch them, they burst into tears because they can't hold it anymore. They're just shaking. And some I have to dive deep into their energy and say, hey, I feel this brick wall, this ice layer. I said, but once I get below that, you're just a soft little teddy bear. And then they start crying there too. Because what's happening is that, the childhood stuff, and they feel like they have to overprotect, or they can't speak because the fear of retaliation or what's going to happen, or I'm going to hurt their feelings. And then you're living for everyone else instead of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I was doing in my relationship.
Yeah.
And so, I just got a flash. I love the flashes. So I ended up so I was pouring so much into my partner, everything. Like I was nobody. He was everybody, right? With pouring. And I had to have some kind of chest x-ray. And I'm trying to remember what it was. And I remember that they took the x-ray of my lungs, and then I just put it aside. My sister at the time was an RN and then was moving into selling insurance. So she knew the medical side and the insurance side. She says, hey, you have AFLAC. Give me the results of this test and I'll submit it and you'll get your money back. So I gave it to her, and she was downstairs in my basement. I'm in the kitchen cooking, and all of a sudden I'm hearing her scream. And she's running up the stairs, and why didn't you tell me? I said, what the hell are you talking about? She said, it says that you may have cancer. I'm like, what? No one told me. I put the form aside. It was the results of the lab. I'm like, no one even told me. She's like, what? So then, thank goodness, one of my clients is in oncology, working at NIH. And I'm like, what? She goes, okay, Terrie, calm down. So you can have polyps, and I had a polyp on my lung, which potentially could be cancerous, but she said that, these are common. Don't worry, have it monitored, but you're going to be okay. So, here we are now. When it comes to energy, lungs are life. Lungs are life. And so what happens is our breasts sit in front of our lungs. And so when we end up with any issues with our breasts, it's part of our life. So if we're thinking, now when we say our life, it's the life you're living. So when I was going through all the chaos, the turmoil, his narcissistic behaviors, it was developing into something bad. Now, and I stopped and cut off that relationship, and I probably saved my own life. Right?
Yeah.
So if I stayed into it, I probably would have ended up with lung cancer, even though I never smoked a cigarette in my life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you heard about Dana Reeves, like Chris Reeves, Superman.
Yep.
He was the one riding the horse, fell off, died, or was in a wheelchair. He eventually died. She died like 6 months later.
Yeah.
It was about life. And she had nothing else to live for because she turned into a 100% caregiver.
Yeah.
He was her life.
Yeah.
So when he died, she said, I have nothing else to live for. That's why she ended up with lung cancer, and then she ended up dying.
Wow.
So we have to be very careful with how we're interpreting things, how we're living in things when we're not speaking up, especially with our sexual health or our sexual needs and desires, because it's going to affect you dramatically and your body will respond to it.
Yeah.
Speak up. Everyone, please communicate and speak up, even if you have to cry through it.
Yeah.
Yep. Which is a healing process, isn't it? Crying. It's
It's a release.
You get it out and then you go, oh, okay.
All right.
Can move on.
Yes, it's a release. Because when you get to the other side, you just said, whoa, there it is. You got to the other side, right?
Yeah.
All right.
What are you up to?
I've got
Truth or no?
Yeah.
Truth or no? Truth or no?
Choose a dare?
Yeah.
No, not
Well,
we won't
a
do.
bit too early for dares for us. We need a shot of vodka for that.
Yes. Next time, ladies. Next time. I'm ready for that one.
Okay.
I played that game. I know.
Yeah. So truth or nah? Success is 90% energy, 10% action.
I would say success is 100% energetic.
Yeah.
It's about connecting to what your balances are. So here's the perfect example. People will say, I want $1 million in my bank account. I want to be traveling the world. I just want to have fun and have all that money in the bank, right? And then I say, okay, do you feel like you are the same value of $1 million? Oh, yes, I am. I'm $1 million of value. I said, okay, well, I have this program and it costs about $3,000. What? That's too expensive. I'm like, well, then you don't have the value of $1 million.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you have $1 million in the bank, let's talk about that it gives you support, comfort, knowing that you don't have worries or doubts that if you get a flat tire, you need to buy a new car, it's there, right? Yeah. But when people are trying to manifest it and create it, they're like strangle holding. Money has a really crazy feeling, and then it ends up being a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
And when they strangle hold it, then they're like, I can't let it go. And then what happens is that you're living in more in lack. And then what happens is they'll say, I'm not making the money I want, or I got terminated or downsized, or, I can't get to that space of the extra money, because that they are living in the lack of not having it, and they're strangle holding it.
Mm.
They have to be of equal value to say, I am the value, just like in your partnership, just like in bed. In bed, I am the value.
Yeah.
I provide value. Just laying here and purring for you, I am the value, right? Because it's that equal exchange of energy. It's the safeness. And so when you have $1 million in the bank, it's the safeness. It's that equal exchange, but you have to have that equal sense. So I tell people, look, go into a luxury hotel, have a couple of cocktails. Yeah, it's going to cost you $20, $22 a cocktail. However, you have to say, this feels like my environment. This is what I desire and want. And so you can go in there and fake it till you make it, but you have to really feel that this is what works for you. So my partner the other day, he was wanting to go on this retreat, and he reached out to them and he said, the accommodations that you're recommending may not be perfect for my partner. She's a little bit more high end, so you recommend. I'm like, yeah, he knows me.
You're on a winner. Yeah. You're on a winner. I love that.
Oh, I'll just hope my other half listens to this part. Or all of it. Yeah.
He will.
Yes.
So give us your spiciest take on emotional healing.
The spiciest take, like, you got to give me a little more, like in the bed or in the. Help me out.
I feel, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we're about here.
Yeah.
So your spiciest. Yep.
It's my spiciest take on emotional healing in the bed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we kind of touch bases with it a little bit, right?
Yeah, we did.
Is you have to communicate.
Yeah.
It's a must.
Yep.
And spending, look, it's very interesting. I just got a flash. I love the flashes. Girls, I am just sharing it all. Just the other day, I love this. I have a little, I have a little something in the closet that I call it the third party. Third party.
Oh, we love the wink.
Yes. The third party is in the closet. So the third party. And then as I was trying to pull the third party out, because I'm like, oh, it's been a while, I'm going to take care of business. That I'm like, oh, damn, there was another like extra tidbit in there. Meaning I can't even remember the event. It was that long ago. And this woman was giving out like toys, like, intimacy toys.
Mm-hmm.
And I won one. And I just like, I don't know. It's intimidating. So I threw it in the closet and I threw it in there. And on the other day, literally it's just happened a couple days ago. And I'm like, wait. I plugged it in. I'm like, damn, this thing is like 10 years old. However, it feels brand new. I charge it up, but it's still a little intimidating. I'm like, I'll figure it out. But, the thing is, do you see how I'm making you laugh?
Mm-hmm.
It's childlike energy.
Yep.
It's curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So even though it looks intimidating, and it's in the closet for like, I don't know, 8, 9 years, but there's nothing wrong. I mean, it's shiny, bright new. I mean, I never even opened it. and it charged up. I'll let you know how it works.
So it's still intimidating.
Well, I just charged it the other day. Let's charge it the other day. But, yes, it's intimidating. But I just looked at the pamphlet really quick. I'm like,
Curiosity too.
Yes, curiosity. And I'm like, I'll figure it out. And I'm sure it'll be the best thing I've ever tried. I'm like, why didn't I do this before?
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm not afraid because I'm moving into the curiosity.
Mm.
When we move into curiosity, then we can do that with a partner while we're in bed.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and with my partner, I'm like, just talk to me, baby. Just talk to me. He's like, I don't know what to say. Well, figure it out, baby. Just talk to me.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, he's just like telling me these great things that I want to hear. And now he knows that I'm just going to say, talk to me in my ear. Just talk. I don't know. With him, it's just been, I've never had that before. It's just something that I've been moving into. But again, intuition, moving into what my body's telling me, moving into where he's laying his head next to my ear and I'm listening to him breathing. And I'm like, oh man, I would really love for him to tell me all the juicy things that he loves about my body. Just tell me. And then when he does it, it just takes this little tingling down my spine.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, it started with curiosity. It started with him laying his head just right next to my ear and then saying, talk to me, tell me something. And
sign of
and
foreplay.
just
You don't need to touch someone. You can actually just speak it, and that is your foreplay to start with.
Even your smell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. But it's these women that are like, oh, but I don't know. Well, you're not going to know unless you try.
Yep.
You're not going to know. And if he gets intimidated by you, and if you haven't done it before and you're starting to do it, and he's like, whoa, this is different. Yeah, because I'm just trying to spice this up, baby.
Yeah.
It's spicy.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing with the toy that you were given and it's intimidating, put it in the cupboard. You didn't throw it in the bin. So the back of your head was like, it needs to stay up there for me to take it down and have a look.
Yeah.
Track, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Take
Yes. I figured, and again, it was quite a while ago, and I think I was single at the time, thinking, "Oh, is this for a couple?" Just kind of like put it aside. I just put it aside, but it's strictly for women. You can clearly see it. But when I figured, well, now I'm ready to try something, and even though you might be given something, you're going to try something, and you see something, you may not be quite at the space to try that, and then try something else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because you're curious to start with.
Yeah.
Like, let that curiosity evolve.
Yep.
Yes.
But for someone that's feeling overwhelmed or stuck, what's the very first step they can take today? Feeling overwhelmed and stuck.
Gratitude. So first off, you're feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. Yay. Just like I stopped and thanked you ladies for creating the safe space for people to share, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you're present enough to realize you're stuck. Thank you, God, source, for allowing me to be present enough to say I'm stuck. Okay. So what does that look like? Usually it's I need more clarity, right? So what is it that you need clarity in? Because we're talking, sexual desires and stuff, may it be, that. Well, then the next step. So it's taking baby steps. You don't have to go from, point A to Z, jump over the mountain in one step.
Yeah.
As long as you are moving forward, taking baby steps, reading, reaching out. There's so many private Facebook groups. There's so much out there.
Yeah.
That it's crazy. I had a girlfriend just today. I was telling her I was creating this little special event for my boyfriend. It's his birthday. And she goes, oh, and she starts throwing all these things out. And I've said, girl, I didn't know any of that. Thank you. What's the website? Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
So, and, I always say, speak and you shall receive, right?
Yeah.
And when you're sharing it with people and you're sharing it with, telling people, interesting thing. I love my flashes. When years ago, before I wrote my book, I was in the journey of writing it. And I had this client that I was seeing every week. And I said, man, she's so knowledgeable. And I sat down with her and I said, look, I am having a problem with my content editor, my designer, and I have this idea of what the cover should look like. And she said, Terrie, why are you giving your power away? I mean, here's the person that tells people don't give your power away. I'm like, what are you talking about? She says, I have written 5 books on the New York Times bestseller. And I'm like, first off, I didn't even know that. I had no idea she wrote all those books and New York Times. And I said, wait, because I had already picked out 2 pictures. It took me 40 hours to pick out 2 pictures. And I said, I sent them to the content editor and the designer. And they said, no, it's too manly. It's too cold. And when I told her and they were sending flowers and bouquets and butterflies, I'm like, that is not the way I want this book to look. And she says, well, then you have to go with what you're saying, what you feel. And this is what I tell my clients. But sometimes we get off the track, no matter how many clouds you are flying on.
Yeah.
You know, because that's what I say. I float on clouds because I'm like way out there. But I can have this tendency sometimes to kind of like the expert. Like, oh, you're the expert, you're the doctor. And that's why I fired my gynecologist going, no, that doesn't work for me. But I don't believe I may not have fired her if I didn't go back to the content editor and the designer and say, these are the pictures we're using. And I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
And this is the design of my book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, love it.
Yes. So, and this is the picture that I chose. I told this one or another one, and I had them change a few little things. But this is exactly what this book speaks, the secret power of you.
Yeah.
And you can clearly see it instead of a butterfly or a flower. Yes.
It literally talks to you.
So, well, flowers have nothing to do with it. So, yeah.
Wow.
Thank
you. Exactly. So it really, truly is about reclaiming you. And I gave that scenario because when you're feeling stuck, because I was stuck, I had given away my power and said, well, they're the experts. And she's like, well, no, you're the expert. You know what resonates with what you're writing. They're just like, you know, doing whatever you tell them. So you tell them this is it. And when I did, they followed. I'm paying them and they followed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Well, where can people find your book, speaking of books, work with you or access your amazing healing energy?
Oh, thank you. So I work remotely. I work face to face. You can find my website at my name, which is terriechristine.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Oh my God, go to TikTok because I do picture readings. So I do celebrity readings and the energy. Yes, it's so cool. The energy of their energy is blueprinted in their picture. So I'll pull a picture and I'll do a reading. And there's some of them I did months ago. And then a couple, months later, or I did it maybe a year ago, like I did one on Cardi B. That one blew my mind because I love to blow my own mind. And she was still with Offset. They were holding hands. And I did this reading on this picture. And I said, there's a crack. I can see it. I mean, I literally saw it in the picture. I mean, you should just go back and listen to it. I'm on TikTok under Terrie Christine. So there's a crack. And I said, it's him. I said, she's hanging on. I could see her hand in the picture hanging onto him. She's trying her best. I said, but he's going to tumble out. And let me tell you, 4 months later, it all was revealed. He tumbled out. Something was revealed. And now, they're going through their divorce or whatever. But it was so spot on. And I love that because, I get so involved in the energy. I want to lift people. I want to empower them. That's my ultimate purpose in life. You do not have to go through the pain that I suffered. You can do it once. You do not have to do it twice. But come and find me. I am open to receive new clients. And then my book is on Amazon and also be found on my website. So
I will have all those details put up once the podcast is live. And we'll be on TikTok.
Yes.
We'll be literally following you.
I'm going to jump on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and I was on Love and Marriage DC. So you can find the episodes through OWN Network and Real Housewives of Potomac. Potomac, I was on it. Yeah.
I watched that.
Yeah.
I'm a Real Housewives sort of gal.
Yes, you are.
Well, I have my moments. It's got to be spicy for me to watch it. Boring, and they're talking about getting their nails done. I'm like, flick. But when it gets spicy, that's clearly when I glee to it. Thank you so much for showing your energy. It just doesn't lie, and the healing doesn't have to take forever either. So been really in awe of chatting with
yes,
today.
very. So if this episode has made you emotional or cleared a mental block, hit follow and leave us that cheeky or spicy 5-star review. We're all about breakthroughs, not breakdowns. So thank you so much again, Terrie. You've been so inspiring and so empowering. So absolutely love it. Thank you for your time.
Hello, Terrie, everyone.
I'm
Hello, Terrie.
so grateful. So grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I look forward to. Yes.
Have a lovely evening. It's day for us. But
Day.
have an evening.